So here we are, first day of school, getting ready to go into class, right, Wyatt? I've been giving a lot of thought to this Lindsay Clancy thing, and it is more complicated than either side wants to make it. I get the argument that postpartum depression is a real thing. I also think that over-medication by the medical establishment for the cause of making money is a real thing. I think that getting to the root of actual problems in people's lives is more important than masking them with medication. However, we don't see this type of outpouring of support for a school shooter who's depressed or a tranny or whatever, right? When they go into a school and they do horrible things. We don't see, this level of support, the TikTok trends, Me Too, Lindsay, or anything like that. We don't see it. And I think that speaks to a larger issue that's not being addressed, and that is social contagion. There is no shame in our society anymore, and I think shame is a powerful tool that should be utilized far more often. I think if you have shame being used as a weapon by the populace writ large, you will find that you probably don't need quite as many laws. If the standards are elevated and backed up with public shaming, I think that would be beneficial. I do. I do feel for the Clancy family, and part of me does feel for Lindsay Clancy. I do. I mean, you have to be mad to hurt your own child, like insane. You have to be. There's no way around that. But that doesn't excuse what she did, and that should not keep her from justice. I don't believe Lindsay Clancy should go to prison. I believe that Lindsay Clancy should ride the lightning. Such a monstrous act. How can this woman ever be trusted again in public? That's my personal feeling, because I'm a Christian, I don't support the death penalty because, we want time for the person to be able to repent of their sin and turn themselves around in their heart and in their mind. Again, my initial knee-jerk reaction is, a sudden drop and a quick stop, but here we are. Prison will have to do, but it has to be life in prison. This person can never, ever be trusted again in public. If you can't be trusted to make safe your own children, how can you be trusted around strangers? You just can't be. I'm sorry. I don't care how much therapy at this point takes place or how much medical masking takes place with pills. I don't see it. And when we talk about social contagion, why do I think that's important? I think it was Plutarch who talked about Plutarch. You know who Plutarch is? He's a Greek philosopher, you goober. He talked about an incident where a trend had cropped up in a Grecian town where young women were killing themselves because one woman killed herself. She was made famous by it, some tragic love issue, and she got all kinds of attention and death, and then they just kept doing it. Women kept doing it. We see the same thing with the school shootings. Before Columbine, it was not a thing. It really wasn't. Before the 90s, it was not a thing. Kids, my grandfather used to bring his rifle to school and put it in his locker so he could hunt deer in the morning on his way to school. You just didn't really see this kind of stuff. Now, it's a trend. It's a social contagion. And that's because I think our response to it has been lacking. What they ended up doing in Greece with the young women committing suicide in droves was they passed a law, believe it or not, where any woman who committed suicide, her body would be paraded through the town square naked and hung naked for all to see, to rot in disgrace. And once that law was passed, it never happened again. That's because the response to it was adequate. It's a cruel thing, but it saved lives. So yeah, I don't understand the support for Lindsay Clancy. I mean, I get it on the surface level, you know, to maybe feel like I feel to be understanding, but not necessarily trusting, right? Pray for her, sure, yeah, absolutely, pray for her. She's going to have to answer for what she did before the Supreme Judge, and it won't. That'll be a fearful day. It'll be a fearful day for all of us, but I would not want to be her. What really lofts my eyebrow is the response to it by a lot of women. A lot of women on the TikToks and the YouTubes with their social media trends and the social contagion. It's very alarming to me. And, you know, I say it jokingly, you know, but the more I see of liberal women these days, the more I understand the Salem witch trials. I don't like it, but I get it, you know. You know, and if I really wanted to drive the point home and be a real asshole, which, you know, me, that's kind of my default setting, how can I trust you to run government when you're going to sit there and say that you can't help but murder your own children unless you're medicated and supported beyond what Lindsay Clancy was medicated and supported? This woman was fully medicated. The husband took 12 weeks out of work and hired a nanny for her, and she still had to kill her children. And the same women who would scream support Lindsay are the same people who say they want a woman to run the government. Not making a very good case for yourselves. You get that, right? Anyways, I gotta drop off my little creep here at school. That's the other thing. You know, look, I put things in perspective for yourselves, ladies. For example, you know, I mean, I work, you know, 10, 12-hour days. I'm out of the house quite a bit, and my wife is at home with a 10-year-old autistic boy who still wears a diaper. I mean, she's a lion tamer. You know what? Not like this social trend. Oh, I'm autistic. I'm on the spectrum. No, like actually autistic. You know what that's like to deal with that? You have any idea what goes into that? And you have, in Lindsay Clancy's case, 3 beautiful children that are standard children. And this is how you behave? No perspective. None. Anyways, that's all I got. Happy Tuesday.